Continuing on with medical terminology, today we're going to be focusing on the respiratory system. In your medical terminology book, that's chapter 11. And I always start out my new med term chapters by going into Canvas and right here under session 17, access this chapter at a glance document. I consider that to be the study guide for the chapter, and then I'm going to add a few words to it. So when you click on that and you open up the document, it looks like this. I always recommend downloading it. I actually prefer printing it. So you do it however works for you, but I'm going to open it up over here a little bit bigger. Okay. And it's separated into 3 sections. The top section is anatomy. So you'll see a lot of words that will be repeated when you go through your anatomy book, and you'll learn really in depth as to what all these body parts are. However, MedTerm is tied with anatomy, and there are sometimes anatomy questions on your MedTerm test. So you need to know these body parts. The bottom, the key terms, are often diseases, sometimes they're procedures, and these are all tied to the respiratory system as well. Some of these words can be separated into prefixes, suffixes, and word roots, like tonsillectomy is one that you can divide that way. Thoracodynia, tracheotomy, tracheostomy, all of those are ones that can be separated by MedTerm, but then some of them are not, like atelectasis, asthma, emphysema, pleurisy. Those are not ones that can be separated using your MedTerm. So those are phrases you would have to learn as a word. And then the middle section has some prefixes and suffixes. These tend to be repeat from the ones that you are already studying. However, you always want to compare the ones you're studying to this list, because sometimes they will throw in some new word that is specific to the respiratory system. For example, specifically, pnea, P-N-E-A, means breath. You may have heard of people who have sleep apnea. That pnea is part of that word apnea, where A means without. So when you make apnea, it means without breath. It means people who stop breathing during their sleep. Ptysis, P-T-Y-S-I-S, means to spit up. So it's kind of that phlegmy stuff that you might cough up when you're ill. And so we could have the word hemoptysis, meaning spitting up blood. Hemo means blood. Okay. Another one in the prefix list is EU. That one might be new. It may be on your list from before, but the EU might be new. EU means normal. So if I tell you that the patient has eupnea, it means it's normal breath. Okay, normal breathing. And then this side are all of your new combining form words for this chapter. So now if you do flashcards or you do digital flashcards through Quizlet, these are ones you now want to make, because these are your new root words for the respiratory system. Now I'm going to add a few to this list. So up here in your anatomy, plural, sinuses. I'm also going to put in the word nares. Nares means nostrils. Okay, same thing. Under key terms, I'm going to add 2 words. Epistaxis, which means a nosebleed, and then empyema, which means pus in the chest. So it's that crud that you might cough up. Okay. All right. Couple word parts here I want to add in. Come on. There we go. Capno. Mediastino. Stetho. Pectoro, thoraco, all mean chest. All 3 of those words mean the same thing. And then one more, phono, which is sound. Okay, So you can see all of these word parts on here just give you the word parts. They don't tell you what they mean. So for all of these new ones for this chapter, including the ones I just gave you, you're going to have to go through the chapter and find what they mean. You can't just make your flashcards because you got to do a little research before you get there. Okay. Some of those may be familiar to you. Perhaps you've seen them before. Like tonsillo might be a little obvious what it is. Okay. Tracheo is the trachea, a little obvious. Myco is one you might have seen before. Cyano might be one you've seen before. But then other ones may be completely new to you, and you'll have to do a little bit of research as to what they mean. Okay. So I'm going to go over now to your textbook. I take that back. Hold on. So just like I said when you were doing your cardiovascular system, you need to refer back to those prefixes and suffixes from the first chapter. This is the same list you should be working on ever since we started MedTerm in this mod, except for maybe a couple of new ones that got added today. Okay. Create a word. With knowledge of prefix, suffixes, and word roots, you can create any word. Itis means inflammation. So laryngitis, bronchitis, sinusitis is inflammation of what? Okay. Laryngitis, bronchitis are the lungs, sinusitis. Okay. Actually, I want to add another word. Hold on here. I do want to add one more word. I just saw that this was on your test. It was the word bifurcation. And it's not a MedTerm word, it's a regular word, but when I looked at it, I'm like, whoa, that's a word not a lot of people know. Bifurcation means to like split into two, and it was referring to the bronchus, where the trachea splits into the bronchus and then it splits into the left and the right lungs. That's what the word bifurcation means. It means to split into two. That bi means two. So you'll see that word on your test, and so you should probably be familiar with that so that you can successfully answer that question. Bifurcation isn't the answer. It's just used in like the wording of the question, and it's hard to answer the question when you don't even understand the question because they use a word that's not very familiar. There's nothing new I'm going to have to say here that you haven't heard already. How do I memorize all these words? You're going to have to repetition practice over and over and over, a little bit every day. Okay, use the Quizlets, etc. Now, the last video I did not demonstrate the Sirigo, so I want to do that today. So, in your Canvas, anytime you see this kind of thing, that's a Sirigo activity. And you had some up with your prefixes and suffixes, you had some with your cardiovascular, and now you have some here. So when we click on that, and it opens in a new window, and for the respiratory system, there are 6 different sections. Now in your Canvas, let me jump back here. It's telling you to work on just activity 11.1. And then 11.2 through 6 is on the next day. Okay, so you they're not expecting you to do it all at one time. You do a little bit each day, which is what I'm saying, a little bit each day. So when I go back over here, there we go. So I'm going to just click on this first one. So it says Introductory to the Respiratory System, Anatomy and Physiology. So when I open that up, okay, and it says right here, powered by Sirigo, guess what? There's an app for it if you haven't downloaded it yet. And so it says here, this assignment takes 4 to 7 days at 20 minutes a day. Okay, so if you can do 2 sessions a day, that's great. Today it's on your assignment list, so it's kind of part of your class time. So what it does is it is giving me a term, and telling me what it means. And guess what? I have a headset in so you can't hear it, but it also said it. So it gave me pronunciation if it's a word that was difficult. And I'm just going to click down here in the corner, got it. And it's going to give me 6 to 8 terms. Okay, so it's presenting me these words, and now it's going to test me on just the ones it just gave me. And it's saying, do you know this? And I'm going to hit I know it. And even if I don't know it, I usually do hit I know it, and I give it a try. Okay, now it gives me 4 definitions and then none of the above, because sometimes the right answer is not one of the choices. So it wants you to recognize that as well, that it's, hey, it's not that, it's not that. Okay, I got it. So external respiration is exchange. It's this one. Oh, I got it right. And it tells me, cool. Now what happens if I get it wrong? Okay. So that is internal respiration, but I'm not going to click that one. I'm going to click external respiration because maybe I mixed it up. It tells me what the right answer is, and then it gives me the term and definition again. So it's reinforcing to me the one that I got wrong. Okay, then it's going to ask a whole bunch of these. And then, none of those. Then, after it's going to ask me a handful of questions, then it's going to present me some more terms, like 5 or 6 more. And then it's going to quiz me on the 10 of them, 10 to 12, however many I have at this point. And then it's going to add 5 more. And then it's going to test me on the 15 of them, okay? So it's going to keep building. Okay, so it's not just going to test me on the new ones, it's going to test me on the whole range of them. And so that's just going to keep building my knowledge. Okay, so this is all the one exercise. Okay, and so obviously we had 6. Okay, so great for repetition, great for learning these terms and prepping you for the future test. Okay, so to your textbook, obviously I have not used the textbook to introduce these to you other than the chapter at a glance, which came from the textbook resources. And so we start out with this, and then it starts presenting you the body parts and things like that. You will probably see a number of word roots that are not on your chapter at a glance. Okay. If we were to give you the list of every word part it used in the whole chapter, you would have quite a list. Memorize these. Okay. Just my little test hint. Because, yeah, we have halo, which means to breathe. You probably heard of the word halitosis, which is like bad breath. Guess what? That's not on here, I don't believe. Nope, it's not. Okay, guess what? You can skip that one. Okay, so focus on the ones that are on the list. But as you do your assignments through the chapter, you may have to refer to some of these extra ones, which are good to know, but let's focus on the most important ones first. So you're going to learn some anatomy, you're going to learn some more roots, and this is where you're going to be able to go through your list and find out what these words all mean, because remember you had to look up the definitions. Then it's going to give you some quizzes, some exercises throughout the book. Are these assigned? No. Are these graded? No. Is anyone going to make you do those? No. Should you do them? Yes. Okay, this is how you're going to memorize these. This is how you're going to master these terms, is because your constant exposure and repetition. So it's matching. These are all root words. Match them to these. What do they mean? Start with the ones that are obvious, and start with the ones you know. Then work on the ones that you don't know. Like over here, S, tonsillo. Guess what? It means tonsils. Okay? Bronchiolo means bronchiole. Okay, so start with the ones you know. Then work your way down. Okay? Then you keep working through the chapter. And there's all kinds of exercises focusing on a variety of things. I happen to have looked ahead. I'm going to jump way to the end of the chapter. This chapter review is wonderful. And if you were in my class, I would have assigned this as a graded assignment. But I don't get that chance to do that online. We have a whole matching here on prefixes and suffixes, then a whole matching on word roots, and then a whole section on creating terms from a word bank. I think this is a wonderful activity. Everyone should do this. And if it were up to me, it'd be graded. But there you go. So you should be doing this by choice so that you can master it for the day of the test. You can master it so you can code better. You can master it so you can pass your certification test. And you can master it because respiratory conditions are very, very common in every office. Primary care, specialty, everything. A lot of people have respiratory issues, especially during COVID.